Welcome, everybody, to this week, and what a week it has been. Another week down, another week past. We're finally past Remembrance Day. Now we're starting into that full swing towards the holiday season. So we got all of that. And we do have a story that's kind of related to the holiday story a little bit later on today. This is going to be great. We've got well, like I said, it was kind of a slow news week, but I still managed to wrangle together 8 stories. So we got all of that coming up. And I noticed right away, Jill came in mentioning that thumbnail. Yeah, that actually ties into our first news story of the day, which we're going to get to here in a moment, all about fake people. So I put a fake AI generated person on the thumbnail. So anyway, we'll explain that when we get to the story. Paul is in the house. Hi, Paul. Paul got in here before the stream even started. So fantastic. All right. As we get ourselves going for another Sunday afternoon, first of all, we're going to just thank everybody who is here. So thank you guys who show up every single week. And thank you as well to all you guys who watch this on the replay. You guys make up the majority. And you know, that's fantastic. It all helps. Be sure, those of you who are here, to make sure to hit that like button. Hit it, make it, turn it blue. It basically pushes it out because sometimes YouTube is finicky, doesn't always share with everybody. This way here, everybody knows that we're up, we're live, everything is going. We can get some folks in here and we get some people starting the conversation going. All right. If you guys want to watch and see what I'm doing outside of regular YouTube, be sure to follow me as well on Blossom. There is a link down below for Blossom. It is a social media app that is specifically designed for, well, us investors, Canadian investors. Although it is in the new year, it'll probably be bringing in American investors as well. So looking forward to see how well that all expands. Blossom is fantastic because you can go in there and talk to myself or pretty much most of the big Canadian YouTube finance people. They're all there, and it's a great party of sorts. Good place to get some ideas. Good place to just go in there and hang out for a bit. Anyway, if you do drop over there, be sure to follow me because, hey, I would love to follow you back, see what you guys are doing as well at the same time. Okay. Let's move into our first news story. I want to try to get the news done as quickly as possible today for the simple reason that my time is limited. I only have an hour today. So we definitely want to try to get everything into that hour the best that we can. Jonathan's in the house saying, this is my favorite part of Sundays. Yes, absolutely. This is like the church of finance for Sundays. Coming in here and just giving you guys your financial sermons. Sammer says, hello, all. Welcome, welcome. All right. Gotta grab that. Let's turn on that first news story because that's kind of a neat one. So, AI influencers. So, what's been going on? We actually have a few brands out there that are starting to use AI influencers. Prada, Calvin Klein, Samsung, B&W. These are some of the some of the companies who have started using AI influencers. So instead of paying for me or somebody else, probably somebody a lot more famous than me. I don't think I'm the face of Prada, that's for sure. Unless perhaps Prada gets themselves a little intoxicated, then maybe. So Meta is also looking to launch some as well. Apparently, they've got some AI spokespeople that are going to look a little bit like Kylie Jenner and Tom Brady, just to try to get that demographic, I guess. Now, there are some big AI influencers out there already. Like Brazil has somebody called Amy Malu. This algorithm, this AI person has 3.7 million YouTube subscribers. They're a cartoon, and they've just got a massive online following. Holy banana bread! There's also a Miquela who has 2.7 million Instagram followers. And some of the newer ones are they're pretty much indistinguishable from actual people. I will assure you guys, I am an actual person. However, here's the thing. As AI gets more and more down the road, we're going to get to a point where somebody like myself, I could have AI scan my voice, scan my, my picture and everything, and recreate me absolutely identically. So there'll be a point where I won't even need to film my videos. I could basically just give the script to AI and say, yeah, this is what we're talking about. Heck, let AI write it. I'll just be able to sit back and enjoy all that sweet YouTube cash. Well, so hopefully someday. But I don't know. I think I would kind of miss it if it ever got to a point where AI could pretty much do everything. But here's the thing: when I'm 90 years old, I'm going to be a bit of a prune trying to do these videos. So I could probably at that point just have the AI create a younger version of me and keep going. Heck, even after I've finished my time on the planet, there could probably still be mountain finance videos coming out because we could just create it with AI, isn't it? It's kind of creepy, but at the same time, I find it very fascinating and I find it kind of cool actually. So it's really interesting. Sterling Silver's in the house saying, "Hey." We got Jonathan saying, "Preach." Yeah, yeah, our finance church is just going strong. Jay says big name companies. Yeah, those are some very big name companies that are getting into it. Now, as viewers, I mean, do you guys want to watch an AI avatar, instead of a real person? Or if we even got to a point where I could just create an avatar of myself that's indistinguishable from me, I mean, you wouldn't even be able to tell. That's kind of a strange place that we're going. Technology is really, really, really getting its geek on and getting a little bit weird. So it's kind of that thing. It's really interesting. This reminds me of my grandfather. We were playing cards one night. We had my grandfather over. Now, my grandfather at that time, he was like about 86 years old. And, he was from the early 1900s. Like he was in the Halifax explosion. That's how old he was. But he was over at the house, 86 years old. And this was in the 80s, okay? So just put this into perspective. And we showed him a Walkman, just a cassette recorder in those little yellow, with the headphones, and it blew him away. He could not believe that level of technology. Now, I look at a Walkman today and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's like belongs in the Smithsonian. That's really, really old. But when I'm like 86 sitting, sitting somewhere, I wonder what I'm going to be blown away by. I wonder what technology is out there, 30, 40 years down the road that is going to absolutely dazzle us today. That and it's amazing because you think about it and you think, okay, well, technology moves, but it's not moving that fast. But it is. It's moving very, very fast. So one of those things sort of to keep in mind. We got Amanda in the house saying hello. And Jonathan has never seen an AI influencer yet. Well, you think you haven't. We don't know. Maybe you have. Um, Jordan says, happy Sunday, Candace and chat family. Hey, Jordan, good to have you in the house. Now, here's an interesting thing. What? First of all, I guess we're still on that AI story, but part of the reason they're doing this, part of the reason for big companies, and some of this actually does make sense. If you create an AI, like an artificial intelligence influencer, one, you don't have to pay them. You'd have to pay someone to make them, but it's going to be cost effective. But here's a beautiful thing, and I thought this was kind of interesting. You could program them to speak in every language. So you've got that whole big of language flexibility coming through. And the other big thing is you don't have to worry about scandals, right? I mean, how many big YouTubers have gotten themselves into scandals? I can think of a few off the top of my head. So definitely that's one of those things that kind of pushes us in that direction. And it's also really interesting too. We're now at a point that almost half of everybody in this country um, can't even tell the difference between AI content and human content. It's getting that good. It's getting so good, in fact. And it's actually funny. I was watching a movie the other night. And I only watched the beginning of the movie because the AI in the movie kind of annoyed me, but it sounded so you could tell it was AI. It was really bad AI. And I was just thinking to myself, like last week, we had a small little conversation with Chat GPT on the stream, and she sounded normal. She sounded like a person. So we're getting to that point that I think it's going to be really hard. And here's the thing: you have probably talked to AI without realizing it, because there are a lot of call centers that are starting to use AI. And there's a lot of those chat boxes on different websites. Like if you say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to reach out to chat," a lot of times you're not even getting a person, you're getting AI. So you probably have interacted with AI more than you even think you have. Sterling says, whoops, there we go. I think there is tech already out there that would blow us away, and we're just given the throwaway stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this goes back to, we're not going to talk about flying. Yeah, we're going to talk about flying saucers. If you look at UFO reports from like the 40s and 50s, one of the more common types of UFOs that people used to see were them black triangles. Well, then when the Gulf War came around and the US started using their stealth bombers, they became public knowledge. And what do the stealth bombers look like? They're black triangles. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a lot of I guess now it's UAPs. I think a lot of the UAPs that we see today are simply that. They're just military technology. They're not going to come out and say, "Oh, yeah, those are ours. Those are our top secret stuff. Don't worry about it." They're going to just let NASA and everybody else and all of the committees sort of do their own thing, but they're probably ours. So I definitely agree with you, Sterling, 100%. Turing would be so proud. Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of that whole thing. We're getting to the point that I think, just looking at how much AI has come, like I remember when I started telling people on the Danter Banter, I think it was still Crypto Night in Canada back then. This was like beginning of last year. So about a year ago, I was telling people about this Chat GPT from OpenAI, and I was saying, "Look, this is coming. This is going to be big." And people were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of it won't be here that soon." Then it exploded onto the scene early in the year, and look at where we're at right now. We're at a point that I can have a conversation out loud with a with Chat GPT, and now of course Elon Musk has his new one, Croc, I think it's called. Um, I don't think there's any turning back. I think they're going to keep on going. So it's kind of one of them interesting things. I think AI it's here to stay, and I think even if you get all the regulations in place, I don't think it's going to slow it down. I think the genie is so far out of the bottle right now that we can't really put it back in. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all boils down. But I look at what we've seen happen with AI in just a year. I'm imagining where we're going to be a year from now. I think AI is going to be blowing us away even more than what we're already excited about so far. So, yeah, Turing would definitely be proud. Jordan says, "I remember you and I agreed most of that stream a year ago." Yeah, yeah, exactly. That was the whole thing. 1 year ago, I was telling people this is coming, and people were like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." And the dancers were like, "Oh, that sounds interesting. Really?" And yeah, here we go. So that's kind of a neat little thing. All right, let's get on to our next story, though. Because we only have an hour, so we're gonna jump in here. So time for a cut. So budget cut time is around again. So our government is looking at cutting spending, which is good. I'm glad to hear that. So Treasury Board President Anita Anand, she dropped her breakdown for basically $500 million in spending cuts. Now, this is a first step because their goal is to basically cut spending by 15.4 billion over the next 5 years. Let's see if they can do that. So this initial cut, they're hitting the Department of National Defense. They actually got a big cut of 211 million, and the Canadian Space Agency has also gotten a small cut, basically about 1.37% of their budget. Now, what they're trying to do with these cuts, of course, is they're looking at trying to cut their travel budgets, also their consulting, but the big thing is outsourcing. The government has a terrible outsourcing problem. In fact, they actually outsourced the budget cut design, and that cost them $670,000. But that's one of the things they want. I don't know if they want lower bidders, but it's just outsourcing has been one of the big killers. So we'll have to see how this works. Now, here's the thing: the government is in a little bit of a pickle for sure. And the Liberal government, yeah, they definitely want to be cutting, but they also need to think about they've got they're down in the polls, so that sometimes creates spending. So we'll have to see what's going to happen. I know the Bank of Canada has been very annoyed with the current government with their spending sort of keeping inflation from falling as much as it should be falling, but we'll have to see how this is all going to work out. Luckily, the election isn't until 2000 and I was going to say 2015, but 2025. So that's not a bad thing. So it just means that we might have a year where maybe they could do some cutting, but not last year. In the 2025 year, the Liberals will start spending because they want to try to salvage some of their polls. I don't think they can, but they certainly are going to try. All right. Our next story of the day is the rich keep getting richer. So a report came out on some of our tax filing for 2021. So we do tend to be a little bit behind on here, but this will come as no surprise. The top 1% of Canadian tax filers, they saw their incomes actually increase in 2021 by 10%. And this is all information that came out of Stats Canada. So that's pretty big, 10% increase. Now, those in the lower 50%, so the bottom half, they actually saw their income decline. Their income dropped roughly about, for most people, around $1,400. So, sorry, $1,400 per year. Now, a lot of that is because that's when all of the supports, so your CERB and stuff like that, that's when they all started falling off. So people lost that. So especially the lower income people who were getting some of that, a lot of the part-time people, that's why they declined so badly. But now, talking about the top 1%, if we actually dive a little deeper and go to the top 0.1%, well, they they actually increased their wages by their incomes by 17.4%. And if we dive even deeper, and let's go to the top 0.01%, holy banana bread, their income increased by 25.7%. So, yep, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And, well, I'd love to see what 2022 looks like. They haven't released that data yet, but I have a feeling it's not going to be pleasant. It's just with inflation and everything, I think the buying power is way down. So this doesn't really take into consideration that buying power. So it's going to be very interesting to see some of this data as we move forward. And as Sterling says, yeah, money makes money. And that's kind of what we're doing, right? With investing, we are making more money using the money that we have just to pile up more cash. And that's a good thing. And they have a lot more of it. So it's a lot easier for them. And plus they have people like, most of us here, we're all do it ourselves. But now they have, these are the people who actually have hedge funds that will do all of their work for them. So that certainly helps. And that certainly goes a long way. Oh, Bleak is in the house. Hello, Bleak. It is good to see you. All right. Our next story of the day: no experience required. So the government of Ontario, they're planning to ban employers from demanding Canadian work experience when it comes to job postings. And this, of course, is in relationship to all of the immigration that we've had. So we have a lot of people coming into the country who aren't able to get jobs because you've got employers saying, well, you've never worked in Canada. We're not even going to look at you. So they're going to make it so that you can't judge that against people. So, because that right now, that's probably one of the biggest barriers to employment for new immigrants. So with that being removed in Ontario, and maybe other provinces will take follow suit. But I think a lot of the immigrants probably eventually end up in Ontario. I know with Nova Scotia, we used to encourage a lot of immigration in there. And then, of course, once they got in, they realized there was more money to make in Ontario. A lot of them would then move to Ontario. So that's kind of be interesting. I think that's a really good move. We've had a situation where we've had some very skilled people immigrating into Canada, and then they're not able to get jobs because nobody's recognizing either their credentials, their experience. So this takes care of the experience. I know we've been working on making it easier for their credentials. So that's a good thing because that is really good for the economy if we get more people working. So, all right. Oh, we're really flying through these. I like it. I like it. So the economic statement. So we do have coming up later this month, we have the fall economic statement, and that's going to be very interesting. So Freeland, she's hinted that the update is going to focus on housing and affordability. So far, I have to give the current government an F when it comes on housing. They haven't been doing a great job at getting houses built. And that should be a really big thing. We got a lot of we talked about immigration. We got a lot of immigration coming in. People need places to live. So let's hope that they're going to address housing a little bit better in the future because we can't wait until we get a new government in 2025 to deal with that. I'd like to see the current government at least get underway. Let's get something moving for housing. We got Larry in the house. Hello, Larry. Good to see you. So here's another interesting thing too, and this is going to play, I think, into this fall economic statement. They had a fiscal statement that came out on October 24th. And the deficit actually came in at $35.3 billion. Now, that was $7.7 billion less than they had predicted in the spring budget. So that's good. It's not great, but it's good that it came in under. And now here's the problem, though. With the slowing economy, the government is definitely under pressure to rein in their spending. So right now, they kind of have to tackle the housing crisis, the affordability situation. Also, then they have to balance that with their ongoing slump in the polls because right now the conservatives are leading in most parts of the country. So they've got a rough ride ahead of them, and hopefully they don't. I hope they don't mess up inflation any worse than it already is. But I think they're going to try to move in the right direction, at least. The Bank of Canada, with the latest pause, it's taken a bit of pressure off of them. All right. Now, we are flying through these. So get your questions and stuff ready, guys, because we're almost through the news, which is fantastic. All right. So Cineplex, holy banana bread, they've been doing well. So Cineplex had their earnings report come out, and they're still soaring. Their shares on Thursday when they dropped their report, their shares actually rose from $9.05 up to $9.54. So that's a 5.4% rise. Now, a lot of the reason they did so well over the summer was because of, that whole Barbie and Oppenheimer, between the two of them, they helped them to deliver a very huge quarter. So they did really, really well, which is interesting because honestly, when the pandemic was winding down, I really didn't expect to see Cineplex bounce back this much, this fast. So for those of you who are investors in Cineplex, and I know a few of you are, yeah, congratulations. Now, here's the beautiful thing. Because of those movies alone, the strikes really didn't impact them very much. And now both strikes are over. We've got a good plate of movies coming up, everything from the new Ghostbusters in the spring. So hopefully Hollywood now getting their gears back moving. Hopefully that's going to really help things out. All right. Abalash says, do you think the U.S. Fed and the Bank of Canada will deviate as U.S. economy still seems strong? Good time to buy USD now. It's interesting. Yeah, I think the U.S. economy can handle more rate hikes right now. They have the room to absorb that pain more than Canada does. I still think we're going to see one more in Canada, and the U.S. Maybe one more, maybe two more, but Definitely one more in the US. I don't think it's going to happen this year now. I think they're going to try. I think both Canada and the US will probably hold off to early 2024. But 2025, I do think we're going to see a little bit of rate cuts, only to try to help deal with the fact that all of those mortgages are coming up in 2025. And if we can cut the rates by then, it might help the banks survive that a little bit better. All right, 9 is in the house. Banana bread for life. Yeah. There was some place I don't know where. I was listening to a stream the other day, and people were talking about banana bread, and I was just like, wow, wow. Uh, I thought it was cool. Anyway, yeah. So banana bread. So yeah, so Cineplex definitely doing good. I'm kind of glad that these strikes are all over, so we can finally start getting some entertainment back when we're going. I know when it comes right now to looking for stuff to watch on some of the streaming services, it can be like, yeah, spend 20 minutes looking for something to watch that you haven't already seen, and then watch whatever you find and hope that it's good. All right. All right. Our next story. All right. Oh, notice how this one is nice and green. Christmas tree. So we have a Christmas tree problem, and that is all about shortages. So right now, Canada's Christmas tree sector, it's continued to face, well, it's got two persistent issues right now going on. One, we have a dwindling supply of farmers. So we don't have as many farmers as we used to, and the demand for real trees is going up, which that boggled my mind. It's like I figured everybody was using an artificial tree now, but apparently there's a big push towards real trees. Are you guys using real trees? I mean, I have an artificial tree. I love my artificial tree. But yeah, so there's a big demand. So just to give you an idea of this demand. So back in 2015, the Canadian Christmas tree industry was a $53 million industry. 2021, that industry had doubled in size. It's a $100 million industry now. So it's getting big. Um, right now, we've already lost more than 20,000 acres of Christmas tree farms. And this is just because of farmers who retired, farmers aging out, whether they retired or whether they died without anyone to take over their farms. And it's a hard industry to get into because if you were to say, okay, I'm going to start a Christmas tree farm, well, you got to plant the trees first. And it takes about 10 years to grow a tree. So you're looking at a situation where if you start a farm, you're not even going to get paid for 10 years. So, it's almost like being a YouTuber. You don't get paid for a long time. But yeah, so that's kind of what's been going on. Now, there has been, of course, issues. Believe it or not, 2023 has actually not been that bad of a year for Christmas trees. There have been some issues with some of the seedlings having issues, like on the BC side. A lot of the flooding, not the flooding, but a lot of the rain has hurt some of the flooding as well as some of the drought. Between the drought and the rain, Nova Scotia side, the flooding certainly has caused issues. So, but that doesn't really impact this year's crop. That's crop coming up down the road. So it's one of these things. If you want to be a Christmas tree farmer and you've got 10 years, I would think you'd almost have to be planting something else and then maybe slowly phasing in Christmas trees or something. I don't know. That 10-year thing is I think that's pretty hard to get past. All right. Well, look at that. All right. The crypto rounds are actually really, really, really easy today. There wasn't a lot of crypto news other than there's still a lot of hype in the air in regards to a US spot Bitcoin ETF. And so Bitcoin now, it's like sitting up around 37,000 US. And people are really, really, really getting excited. Will it happen? I don't know. But if it does happen, there's definitely going to be, an interesting movement on Bitcoin. Let me just say that. So if you're invested in one of the Canadian spot Bitcoin ETFs already, when that happens, you're probably going to make a pretty good profit. But the news I do have for crypto this week is it's more XRP related. So, according to Google Trends data, they have said that more than 47 states in the US recorded an increase um, in XRP investment interest as residents are starting to look at onboarding XRP over Ethereum. So that's kind of be interesting. Oh, look at this. I say XRP and there's Tim Danter, just like bang. This is hilarious. And it isn't BlackRock trying to launch a spot. Oh, I'm. I think you won't see a spot Ether Ethereum for a bit. And I almost missed this here by Amvas. I'm preparing to try self-investing. If you were to choose an ETF long term, which ones would you recommend? How does it work if the ETF is US? Okay. So if you're just brand new, you're starting and you're like, okay, I just want to start with some good ETFs. One good family of ETFs, of course, Vanguard, for example. Vanguard are really good. Vanguard, BlackRock. There's a whole bunch of different ones, iShares. But Vanguard, I think, are pretty standard for new people when they're starting. So how I would handle these ETFs, if I'm getting US, or if I'm going for, let's say if I was going for a US Vanguard ETF like VOO, I would put that one in an RRSP for the simple reason that you have no tax withholding tax. So you're not paying anything. You're not, it's not that you're paying it, but you're not having any of the dividends on that withheld from you. So that's kind of where I would put that. But anything that are normal Canadian stuff, I would probably just put it into the TFSA. I think that is kind of good. So yeah, definitely Vanguard is good. iShares is good. There's a lot of other ones. Like if you're brand new, I would avoid like the covered call initially because you never want to jump into something that you don't understand. So when you're brand new, you kind of just want something simple, something that's very low maintenance as you're learning. And that's one of the reasons I do like some of the Vanguard suite or the iShares, or even things like the BMO. They've got a lot of good ones as well. But Vanguard tend to be ones that I think are more popular. All right. And to the moon for XRP. John says, had Cineplex as a passive income unit, but sold it. My relatives in Lunenburg County still make income from selling Christmas trees to the New England states. Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of our trees are shipped off. Actually, here's an interesting story. I think we mentioned the Halifax explosion when I was telling you the story about my grandfather, but one of the first people in the US to provide aid to Halifax back in 1917, I think it was 1917, when the Halifax explosion occurred. One of the first groups of people to help were actually Boston. Boston sent in a railroad car of like supplies and things like that and medical personnel to help out. So Halifax appreciates that so much that they send a Christmas tree every year to Boston. There's actually a place in Boston where this big tree is there, and there's like a whole memorial to the whole Halifax explosion there in Boston. But that's kind of a big tradition every year that's sent. So yeah, so that kind of reminded me of that when John mentioned the Lunenburg County. Now, I think it comes from Christmas Island, and I believe it's in Cape Breton that this tree that goes to Boston comes from. But any of you in the Maritimes who know that better than me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Christmas Island in Cape Breton. I think that's where they're getting it from. Abalash says, can you claim losses on taxes if you are day trading, buying and selling same stock within a day? Okay. When you day trade, so any profit on what you're buying and selling is going to be considered business income or business losses. So if you have taken business losses, you can apply those losses against business income. So let's say you day traded day one. We're just going to use a 2-day model just for this example. So on day one, you lost $1,000. Bang, just gone. Day two, you earned $2,000. Well, tax-wise, you have that $2,000 of income and you have $1,000 of losses. So the $1,000 would cancel out half of that 2,000. So when it came to tax time for those 2 days, you only have $1,000 of income because you know a way they cancel each other out, and you can carry the losses forward. So let's say, for example, you just started day trading and your year is just absolutely dismal because you're still learning and you end up in the hole for the year, you can carry that forward to your next year when hopefully you've got a whole bunch of wins under your belt and use that to help alleviate the taxes. But you can't use uh, those losses. You can't use them against like a capital gains, for example, in your investment account. Um, they just don't work that way. All right. Larry says, I don't know about farming trees, but you can't 10x your money by getting a trailer full of Christmas trees and selling them. Costs about 11 to 14K for 1,000, resell about 100K. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I don't think anybody who watches this channel has a desire to become a Christmas tree farmer, because you guys know how to make money, or you're learning how to make money. That's one of the two. Yeah, absolutely. And 9 says, pay attention to the MER for ETFs you are buying. So yeah, absolutely. You want to look at any kind of management fees that are going on. Because those management fees, even though when you look at a management fee and it says 1%, or 0.6%, it still adds up over time. And when you start charting that out over like your entire investment time, those higher fees will actually take a bite out of your investment. And when you take the compounding that you could have had, then yeah, absolutely. And Amvas says, I also learned about technical charts and I intend to use indicators to enter and exit my long-term investments. Appreciate your thoughts or suggestions. Yeah, absolutely. So technical analysis. I use that for, I'll use it for swing trading. For me, basically, I look at it this way. I use TA for my short term, because it's really not that great long term. But I use the fundamentals. So I use, fundamental analysis for my long-term investments. So if I'm looking to invest in a company for a long time, I'm going to use all of my fundamentals. I'm going to do my deep dives, figure out if it's a company that I want to. But when I'm swing trading and I'm looking for movements, on shorter time frames, technical analysis will win the day. The only thing that I guess sort of moves into fundamental analysis is if that company is coming up to an earnings report. I will go through their fundamentals and I will see if that earnings report, if it's a clear cut that they're going to exceed expectations based on the fundamentals, then I will more than likely put in a trade there, because if you guys have seen, when somebody exceeds your expectations, the price just goes whoop very quickly. And usually you have to be ready the next day. You want to pretty much sell because it's going to usually go up and then sort of settle back down, a little bit of a correction right away. So you want to be in there. You want to be selling it fairly quickly in that morning so that you're maximizing what you could be making. And John says, the Boston Common commemorating 6th of December, 1917. There we go. That's where the tree is if you guys are in Boston. Thank you, John. Larry says, I used to work for the company that does Home Depot garden area, so plants, and know a guy that just works December and sells 1,000 trees and goes on vacation the rest of the year. Wow. Well, maybe selling trees is a little bit more lucrative than we thought. Holy banana bread. That's pretty cool. 9 says, smash the like button. Yeah, absolutely. Turn that like button blue, because that, once again, that gets it out and it just sort of shows YouTube that you like it. And usually too, if you like it, then the next time I'm on the air, you'll get a notification for it as well. I will be doing a live stream on Thursday for the channel membership. So every month, the channel membership get an extra bonus live stream. Right now, they're still voting on what we're going to talk about, but that will be going down. So if you're interested in catching that and you're not a channel member, down below, right below where it says post a comment, there should be a little thing there that looks like a little dollar sign. You can just click on that and it'll give you the option to join a channel member, become a channel member, or heck, If you're like really rich and you just want to throw money away, you can go in there and just buy a whole bunch of channel memberships for everybody and their dog. It doesn't matter. Beautiful thing is though, when you do become a channel member, you can go back and watch all of the other exclusive stuff that's happened since the beginning of the channel membership. So it's kind of one of those things I say, like, this is what I say. If you want to see that stuff and you're really limited on your funds, then join for a month, go back and watch everything. Don't renew it at the end of that month. And then give it some time to build up again and join again, like every 6 months or so, or something. Come in for a month and catch it that way. So definitely, definitely a good thing. Ooh, I like this. John says Halifax is lighting the latest Christmas tree from Boston next Saturday. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I think we've got a festival of lights here in Ottawa. I don't know when that begins. I think in December, but it's going to look pretty darn good. Um, I'm looking forward to putting the Christmas tree up. I love the holidays. I just don't know what it is. I guess for me, um, pretty much Christmas. I spent most of my Christmases as a young child with my grandparents, and those were some of my best childhood memories. So I think that sort of made me. I always feel kind of good about that. So definitely a good time of the year. Uh, no, if it were for my decision, I'd have the Christmas tree up already. But Jill's kind of like, nope, nope, you can't have it up until December 1st. Interestingly enough, she bought me a Lego Christmas tree that's going to be coming this week. It's kind of like, here you go. You can have a Lego Christmas tree until December 1st. So I'll build that. I'll still build it. I do like Lego. So guilty as charged on that point. All right. Let's see here. We're going to pull this back. Okay. So what do we got going on here in the next week? So there we go. In Canada, we do have a PPI report that's coming out on Friday. The CPI will be coming out the following week. So the PPI is the producer's price index. In the US, we got both. So on Tuesday, we got the CPI coming out, and then on Wednesday, we got the PPI. So that'll be really good because that'll give us an idea of how inflation is behaving south of the border. The PPI will give us a little bit of an indication, but we really want to see is that CPI coming out the following week. Earnings wise, coming up, let's see, we got Sun Life, Loblaws, Power Corp of Canada, and Metro. So we got a couple of big names. Now, Sun Life has been down, so I'm not expecting much on their earnings report. Loblaws has been, well, they've been flat stock-wise, but they could surprise us. Power Corp of Canada has also been flat, and so has Metro. So we don't have any clear-cut winners. Like, there's nobody here I would feel comfortable betting on when it comes to a swing trade. So, it may not be the best week, but still, we got some earnings coming. I think Loblaws has both Loblaws and Metro, I think, have the ability to surprise us. Even though they've been flat, I think they could still surprise us when it comes to the earnings reports. But we'll have to sort of see how that goes. Okay, on the channel this week coming up. Let me just take a look here. On Tuesday's video, we're gonna look at some growth stocks. I have 5 growth stocks that have no dividends at all, and we're gonna just see how big the returns are on these growth stocks. One of them, I'm bet you guys will guess pretty easily. The other 4, I don't think you'll guess. They're probably, I think they're all new. The other 4 are new to the channel. We've never talked about them before, but I will give you this amount. I will tell you this amount. They all have a return for this year above 30%. So these are some pretty nice looking stocks. So that's coming up there on Tuesday. All right, Thursday. I had a request from a channel member, and they wanted me to do a TELUS versus Rogers versus Bell video. And I let them know that I already did that not that long ago. Well, probably earlier in the year. So I'm going to do an update video on Thursday, and we're going to update the telecom companies. So Rogers, Bell, and TELUS. It's not going to be a battle Because let's face it, the battles kind of fizzled. They didn't work. It was a great idea, but they just didn't work. But we're going to do an update on our Canada's telecoms on Thursday. Of course, sorry, on Friday. That's Friday video. I keep see because they used to be on Thursday, so I keep saying Thursday. Thursday night, of course, is the live stream for the channel membership, and next week we'll be back here again for this one as well. So that all works pretty good. All right, guys, whatever you guys want to talk about now, throw it in. I do have to go at 5 o'clock, so we have about 15 minutes. So throw into chat anything, everything. We'll just chat along. Oh, somebody had asked me a question, and I told them to show up here and ask me the question here. What was it though? I am not entirely sure what it was. I'd have to guess at what it was, but it was a good question. I thought would have been good for here. You gotta love it when something just completely disappears from your mind. But I can look it up because I would still like to answer the question. Give me a second here. I will have it because they messaged me with the question. So, oh, right. All right. So the movie, Dead Money. So Dead Money came out. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but that movie was all about the Wall Street bets thing, and they had asked me why and how it was all working because they weren't quite sure on what this whole short squeeze was. So, in a nutshell, when you are investing, when you have a company that's not doing so well, so in this case here, we'll use GameStop. A lot of institutional investors, hedge funds, will actually look at them and say, "Okay, well, we're going to put shorts on them." So they'll put a whole bunch of shorts on, which are basically contracts, so options contracts. And what a short does is basically it's like you're buying a it's kind of like not like you're buying, but it's like you sold stock and then you're going to buy it back at a cheaper price. That's kind of what a short does. So it's like you're selling your stock at a certain value because you borrowed. It's almost like you borrowed the stock, you've sold it. You're going to buy it back at a cheaper price, and then you're going to keep the difference. So that's where you make money on a short. So let's say, for example, let's say it was a $10 stock, but you know the price is going down. So you borrow a whole bunch of shares of that $10 stock, and you sell it at $10. So you get all the cash. Then you buy it back at $9. And then that $1 difference, that's yours to keep because you just give the shares back. Now you have to pay for those shares. That's called the premium. So you pay a premium to get those, whatever the premium is. But that's how it works, and that's how you make money. So even though, you're just kind of using that whole technicality, buying it, selling it, replacing it type thing, and that gives you your money. But here's the thing. Here's what happened. So the retail communities of a website, a place called Wall Street Bets, they were all like, well, look what they're doing. They were like, well, what would happen if we all just go in there and buy it like crazy? Because what would happen is if they push the price up by investing, by all of this mass of people, and we're talking a lot of people using Wall Street Bets, it pushes the price up. And then it fires off the option so it basically hits a strike price. And what happens is when it goes up, let's say, for example, with our example, at $11, let's say the original stocks that they borrowed, if it hits $11, they have to give them back. Well, these guys don't have the stocks anymore. They sold them. And they got $10 a share. So all of a sudden they have to buy them back at $11 a share to be able to give it back to the original person they borrowed it from. So what ends up happening is that all of these people on Wall Street Bets started driving the price up. Then once they start hitting all these trigger prices, all of the institutions who all of a sudden had already sold them at cheaper prices have to buy more back at expensive prices, and that drives the price even more up. So that's how they were able to create this avalanche, upward avalanche, like mount to the moon on like GameStop. And then, of course, a lot of them got out, but a lot didn't because once the price really started going crazy, places, exchanges like Robinhood suspended selling. So some of these people who pulled it off and who rode the ride up too long got into a situation where all of the trading got stopped and they couldn't sell. They couldn't get out at the higher price. So some people got really, really wrecked. Some hedge funds took some seriously heavy hits, but there were a lot of people who got in and got out before Robinhood shut things down, and that made all the difference right there. They made a ton of money. Like, there were some people who became rather wealthy doing this. And that's, they did it with a few different companies. It was also BlackBerry. They even did it with some of the weed companies in Canada, which is that's how I managed to get out of Weed MD with some profits because I had a few I had a few of those and they weren't doing very well, as I think any of you who were around when that happened realized. But I just happened to be there the morning Wall Street Bets started doing it to weed stocks, and enough people bought into the Weed MD trying to do that it went up. I made a nice little profit and got out, and I was happy about it. So John says, see, even the conservative old Globe and Mail has upgraded ORC, so Orca Energy, to a buy. Yeah, yeah. Well, right now, the energy sector, I'll tell you, I've been bullish on it even through the stumble that they had last year. Um, and that does not surprise me. I think right now energy is going to be good, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity in some of the smaller energy companies to get in and make some big profits. Now, I will tell you that in Tuesday's video, um, there's at least one energy. There's two energy companies that are fairly small that I think are just really good opportunities. Nine says some of the CC funds are doing covered calls on U.S. long bonds now. Interesting. Yeah, that's. I mean, nothing surprises me. Like, just some of the creativity we get out there. Like, we had covered calls. They got more and more popular. And then, of course, you've got the synthetic covered calls, which, I haven't seen any in Canada yet, just the ones in the US, like the Yield Max ones. But yeah, you can do covered calls on anything that you can put options on. So that does not surprise me. AM Best says, I've studied options and appreciate Yield Max ETFs. Okay. For prior earnings swing trades, since often the tech stocks have a bullish trend, I'm considering using these ETFs plus TA. Okay. Um, I I will. I do some swings on ETFs, not often though. Usually, it's kind of interesting. I kind of do it in this way with my swing trading. So if the market is absolute crap, then I'm looking at things that I'm usually looking at commodities, uh, everything from Bitcoin to definitely oil. So I'm looking at the different commodity stocks, oil, gold, Bitcoin, things like that. But when the market's strong, then I'm looking mostly at companies. But there are some companies that, for example, I find a gold ETF tends to do a little bit better sometimes than just going into individual gold companies. So there are some ETFs, and playing with, like some of the yield max ones, like the Tesla one, you can make a crap load of money off of some of these Tesla ETFs, like even the ones here in Canada. So, uh, you know, uh, YTSL, that one there, I've made some money off of that one because I get out before. Basically, I pay attention to what's happening with Tesla with their earnings. And if their earnings look bad, I usually get out. And that's fine because I don't mind that, because if I get out before an earnings that's going to go south and then it goes really south, I can get back in at the bottom and then ride that back up again because Tesla is one of these companies that no matter how bad it gets, they always bounce back. Maybe one day they won't. Who knows? None of us knows the future, but yeah, sometimes they are pretty fun to play, and there's definitely some money to be there to be had. But you always want to be careful because here's the thing. And this is a big tip when you're actually doing, uh, let's say if you're doing swing trading. I know that you're talking, I think, more about day trading, but when you're doing swing trading, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So sometimes I will have, maybe 6 different companies on the go. So if, for example, I get in and 3 of them are they're just not they're just, not hitting my strike prices. I'm fine with leaving my things there as long as they don't break the bottom support. I'm gonna leave them there because that's where you're gonna chart. Like you want to chart a channel of sorts if you can, and you'll have your upper support, your lower support, and if it goes, usually I say, 3 or 4 pips below the lower support, then that's going to be a place where I may consider taking that loss because I don't want to be stuck in it forever. But as long as it stays in my channel, it doesn't matter to me how long it takes to get to the top. Usually, though, I try to find things that it's great if it's moving up and down pretty often, which means that you're looking for a higher beta, so a higher volatility on it, because I find that works out pretty darn well. All right. Whew. We're coming up to the end. We get about 3 minutes left. So, anyway, I'll just let you guys know a few little things. I haven't figured out yet what I'm going to do this year. I always try to do something for the holidays. Uh, 2 years ago, I did this crazy thing. I'm not going to do it again. I did um, Christmas week. So the week of Christmas, I did a video every single day. That was brutal. Last year, I did a countdown on shorts. I actually did a shorts countdown. So I haven't figured out yet what I want to do this year, but we'll figure something out. Get that added up to the schedule. For those of you who don't realize yet, we do have a page over on Facebook, on the Facebook groups, invite only. So just to, search for Mountain Finance, join it up. I keep a schedule up there so you can see when videos are coming out, which is, I think for the most part, my videos are pretty consistent on when they're coming out. So normally Tuesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. and then the live stream on a Sunday at 4 p.m. And this is all Eastern time. Yeah, so those are the big ones. But yeah, we'll be looking at getting something in there for the holiday, something special. I'll have to I think right now I still have the live stream on Sunday, but I may move that one just to Saturday or Saturday, sorry, to Monday, because I always like to have a live stream on Christmas Day. I've done it the last 2 days in a row because amazingly enough, people want to watch a live stream on Christmas morning. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we'll probably do that again this year. I just have to sort of tinkle a little bit with the schedule to get that all set up. And I am looking to add something in. And here's this other crazy idea. Well, I'm not going to mention it yet because I haven't got the details worked out. But I've got something crazy in the back of my head that I kind of want to do. Oh, and 3,000. When we get to 3,000 subs, I did say, I know I was going to hold off to 5,000 to do something, but we'll do something at 3,000 subs. I don't know what yet, but we'll figure something out. Tim is all in the Santa mood. Ho ho ho! Very cool. Now I'm just waiting for the first time. I played that Christmas game today inadvertently when I was having my shower. It was Jill turned on the Google in the bathroom on me to some Christmas stuff. And there's this game I play every year. How far can I make it into the season without hearing Wham's This Christmas or Last Christmas? I think I made it about 4 songs this year. 4 songs. I was just like, 4 songs. I think the most I've ever made it is I made it a couple of days a few years ago, but this year 4 songs. That was it. And Jill says she'll never let it happen. She will find a way to get that song into my playlist. Would your membership be a tax deductible? Um, no, I don't think it would be. It's about the price of a cup of coffee, so it's not something that would be tax deductible unless you could find a way to do it. May if some people. I used to know a family. I did their taxes for them once, and they had a business, and they were able to write off things that would boggle your mind. Like, for example, they had a dog. They wrote off all of the dog's food and everything. And I asked them, I said, how can we write that off? And they're like, oh, because I have company assets on my property and that dog protects it. And I was looking at this dog. This is a dog that if a burglar came in, the dog would lick the burglar's face. No doubt. But anyway, you could pull off almost anything if you really put your mind to it. All right, we have hit my hard limit, so I do have to go because I got a little bit of a commitment here today. But we'll be back here next week, and we'll go a little longer next week, I think. So anyway, until then, take care. We will talk to you guys later. Enjoy the videos this week. Catch me on Blossom, all of that fun stuff. All right, everybody, take care.